Max and Lando came together, but I think this was inevitable. Surely it was inevitable, right? This is racing at the front in Formula One. Doesn't matter what generation you look at, they're always going to come together eventually. But the main transgression, I think people are getting a bit wrong, because Max was a very naughty boy, but not for the reason that most people I'm seeing lambast him for is, right? Yes, of course, moving in the braking zones. Until we get the onboards from Max, it's really hard to say. Ex-racing drivers talking about this seem to be under the joint perception that he was moving a bit under the braking zones. Was it on the edge of legality? Was it clear and obvious that he absolutely was? No. It's hard to say. I think those are the fine margins, those are the grey areas that the top drivers, take liberties with, take advantage of to keep position. And I think, broadly speaking, Max, it may have been over the line, but it was close enough that it wasn't clear for the stewards to give him a penalty for moving under braking. They could have done that in the race, the stewards. They didn't elect to. Then obviously came to the move. Now, Max clearly is in the wrong, and the 10-second penalty, in my view, is clear. It's clear and obvious. You can talk about, it didn't hurt Max's race in the end. I don't think you can apply penalties like that. I think the penalty he caught was fair. It may have not changed his finishing position when he did drop down after, getting the puncher and getting the tyre change. I look at that in isolation and it's so marginal. Now, obviously, a lot of people have brought up incidents, where other drivers have squeezed people into that turn 3 in Austria, and there's not been contact. Lando braking in a straight line relative to that white line on the outside. His trajectory doesn't change. Max is braking in a straight line, but he is angled towards that. He gets closer to the white line as he brakes, as he slows down. Could Lando have done more? Could he have lived to fight another day? Okay, the way I look at it is that if Lando does take to the curb, which he chooses not to, okay, and he's under no obligation to do so, because that would be Max technically forcing Lando off the track. Is Lando under obligation to do so? No. Should he have done to live to fight another day and kept it going? Because of course, if Lando dips a couple of wheels on the curb, no one's going to be calling Max like, oh, you've pushed Lando off the track. Even though that would technically be true, he has pushed Lando somewhat off the track by putting his car in that trajectory. I don't think anyone's going to go crazy at Max about that. If Lando does choose to take to that, that bit of curb and live to fight another day, it doesn't happen. The touch is so minor, so marginal. I think if you replay that 100 times over, I think most of the time both cars live to fight another day, okay? And it just happens that both double puncture, right? That's unlucky. We've seen, I think it was Vettel, there's clips of Vettel doing the same, putting the squeeze on, and I think it was Lewis who was on the outside, put, the left wheels on the curb, live to fight another day, they went again. I'm not crazy critical of Max for that, because there's proven, we've seen that in the past, we've seen that squeeze happen in the past, and the driver on the outside has chosen to, live to fight another day. They would have lived to fight another day, both of them, and they were unlucky. They were both unlucky. The outcome was unlucky in that. The problem is his reaction after. When they carry on, Lando's got more trajectory, because at that time his tyre had not punctured. He goes to go past Max, and Max just drives him off the road. Now, you could look at this in isolation and be like, well, initially I was like, what is Max doing? Has Max got an issue? But he clearly, he's putting his car in a place where Lando has to go on the grass to try and overtake. Lando has to massively get out of it, and then he slows right down. He's behind Max for all the way up until the next turn, whatever it is, turn 5, 4, whatever it's called. And that, that petulance, because post-race, a lot of people getting on Lando because he's been very, very vocal about this, and we say they're best mates, buddy, but actually in this instance, I think Lando feels like he should stand up for himself, and I think he's entitled to do that. But that was not that's not a good look, Max. Pulling that kind of nonsense. They're not racing at that point. They're not racing. Max has got a puncture. He knows he's got a puncture. Lando, at that point, maybe doesn't know he's got a puncture. We know obviously his front wing made contact, but at that time, I don't know if Lando knows he's got a puncture or not. He's trying to go past Max at a trajectory, and Max just forces Lando. That kind of stuff, I think, should be 10 seconds for the contact. I agree, Max was responsible for it, and I don't disagree with the 10-second penalty. But that forcing Lando off, like that nonsense needs to be looked at, because that's not good enough. No driver should, like, well, we're talking like Vettel on Hamilton at Baku, forcibly driving into someone else. Like, Lando is the one who chooses to get out of that because he's already partially alongside Max when he just drives him off the track. That is the thing I'm most disappointed with Max about, because it's fine margins, right? They're fighting at the front. Max is going for, like, some people, one of the press conferences was like, oh, Max, why don't you just let him pass because you're already leading the championship by loads. And Max isn't going to do that, and I like that mentality. I respect that mentality. And again, the moving under braking, I think he's in the grey area. I think he's probably been a bit naughty with it, but not so much that it's clear and obvious, and you play those games at the front. And even the squeeze, given what drivers have done in the past, Lando could have gone onto the curb. He chose not to. It was Max's fault. They were both unlucky. Okay, most times that's just wheel banging. They both carry on. But that squeezing Lando off the track, it's dangerous. It's reckless. It's unnecessary. And that is the thing I'm most disappointed with Max about. And that's the thing I think he deserves the most criticism about. But it doesn't seem to be that's what people were talking about. People getting caught up in the, obviously you get in the anti-Max crowd be like, oh, Max never drives fairly, he never leaves the space. I'm like, this was so fine. This was such a fine margin thing until he did that. And then when he pulled that nonsense, I'm like, Max, I can't defend you in that, man, because that's too much. But listen, I thought I'd just give my thoughts and feelings on that briefly. Live stream tomorrow to talk all about the 2024 Austrian Grand Prix, because it all came together in the end. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Max, do better, mate, because that's not good enough.